Clara, a black woman who has just left the orphanage she called home for 19 years, enters a world of promise and uncertainty. Unaware that her past is about to collide with her present in unimaginable ways, Clara adjusts her bag on her shoulder and takes one last look at the orphanage that was once her home. For 19 years, the large red brick building kept memories of childhood joys and sorrows, of resilience and friendship. With a sigh, she turned toward the door, her heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and excitement about what was about to happen on that sunny day. Clara is about to start a new journey with the help of the orphanage director. She secured a job as a housekeeper at the mansion of William Prescott, a famous real estate tycoon. This opportunity seemed like a distant dream, but now it was within her reach. Upon arriving at the palatial mansion, Clara is greeted by butler Henry, who has served the Prescott family for over 30 years. His stern eyes and stiff posture scared Clara, but she still held her head high, determined to prove her abilities. Henry led her around the mansion grounds solemnly and coldly, his words filled with suspicion. "I hope you understand the responsibility this job entails," Henry said as they walked through the elegant hallways. "The Prescott family is very strict and does not tolerate mistakes." Clara nodded, trying not to look worried. "I understand, Mr. Henry. I will do my best." The early days were challenging. Henry never missed an opportunity to criticize her work, pointing out any small flaws. Clara felt the pressure increase with each disapproving look from behind, but she didn't let that discourage her. Her determination is stronger than any criticism. Clara wakes up before dawn every day, starting her work with admirable diligence. She cleans the rooms, takes care of the common areas and keeps the kitchen clean. Despite Henry's constant criticism, she took the time to learn and improve, absorbing every detail of how to keep the mansion in perfect order. One particularly difficult morning, Clara was cleaning the chandelier in the living room when Henry approached. "You left a stain on the dinner table last night," he said harshly. "That is unacceptable." Clara swallowed, feeling the weight of Henry's words. "I'm sorry, Mr. Henry, I will pay more attention." Henry sighed, still doubtful. "We'll see. Remember, this job requires perfection." Despite the difficulties, Clara finds moments of peace while working, especially in the mansion's garden, where she can breathe and reflect. She will sit for a few minutes during breaks to look at the flowers and listen to the birds singing. It was there that she recharged her batteries and remembered why she was here, to build a better life for herself. That night, after a long day of work, Clara lay down on the small bed in her room at the mansion. Exhausted but satisfied with her progress. Despite Henry's continued criticism and demanding presence, she knows she is learning and growing every day, determined to prove her worth. She closed her eyes, ready to face the challenges of the next day. The sun was just rising over the horizon when Clara woke up, starting another day of work at Prescott Mansion. Her goal is simple: prove that she is capable of performing her duties excellently, even in the face of Henry's constant criticism. The kitchen, one of her favorite places to work, is her sanctuary. That morning, she had carefully cleaned the surface, lost in thought about her future. As Clara immersed herself in her work, she did not notice the steady and decisive steps approaching. William Prescott, the head of the family, has just returned from a long business trip. Weariness was evident on his face, but there was something deeper in his eyes, a silent sadness, a burden he had carried in his heart since his daughter disappeared. William went into the kitchen looking for a glass of water, but what he found left him temporarily paralyzed. Clara turned away, focusing on her work, but the heart-shaped necklace hanging around her neck immediately attracted William's attention. It was impossible not to recognize that necklace. It was identical to the one his daughter was wearing the day she disappeared. "Sorry," William said, trying to keep his voice calm but feeling a lump in his throat. Clara quickly turned around, surprised by the presence of the owner of the house. "Good morning, Mr. Prescott," she replied, trying to hide her nervousness. William took a few steps towards her, his eyes fixed on the necklace. "That necklace is so beautiful. You've had it for a long time, haven't you?" Clara instinctively touched the necklace like she usually did when she was nervous. "Yes, sir, as long as I can remember, I have had this necklace. I have grown up with it. It has always been present in my life. It is the only memory I have of the past mine." William felt a wave of conflicting emotions. The necklace's similarity to that of his deceased daughter cannot be a coincidence. He needed to learn more about Clara's past and how that necklace came to her. "Interesting," William said, concealing the intensity of his thoughts. "I hope you are adjusting well to work here." "I'm trying my best, Mr. Prescott," Clara replied, relieved to be having a friendly conversation, so different from her interactions with Henry. William nodded and went to the refrigerator to get the water he initially found, but a whirlwind of thoughts was forming in his mind. He needed to investigate further about this young woman and the story behind that necklace. Later that day, William walked into his office and called an old friend who owned a respected detective agency. He briefly explained the situation, requesting a detailed investigation into Clara's past. Something inside him said that this young woman might be related to his past in ways he had never imagined. Meanwhile, Clara continues her daily routine, unaware of the storm that is about to form around her. The necklace around her neck, a symbol of her mysterious past, now becomes the center of a new investigation that could change her life forever. William was determined to discover the truth at all costs. William sat in a leather chair in the office, phone still in hand. The conversation with detective friend Jonathan happened quickly but was full of meaning. Jonathan promised to begin the investigation immediately and ensure that every lead is closely followed. William knew he couldn't miss any clues when discovering the truth about Clara. While Clara continues her daily work, unaware of the investigation currently surrounding her. Her life follows her routine meticulously, determined to prove her worth even with Henry's constant criticism. That night, after an initial conversation with Jonathan, William decided he couldn't wait any longer. He needed answers and knew that only a thorough investigation could provide them. He picked up the phone and called Jonathan back to officially hire a detective. "Jonathan, I want you and your team to do everything possible to discover everything about Clara's past. Spare no effort or resources, but we need answers fast," William said firmly. "Don't worry, William, we'll get started right away. I'll keep you informed of any developments," Jonathan replied, understanding the urgency and importance of the request. A few days later, Jonathan contacted William to schedule a meeting. The urgency in his voice made William realize that something important had been discovered. They met at a discreet cafe in the city center, away from prying eyes. "William, my team has made significant progress," Jonathan said, wasting no time. "Clara was found in a park 17 years ago when she was about 2 years old. She was taken to an orphanage soon after, where she grew up until recently when she left." William listened attentively, feeling his heart beat fast. "And the necklace? Any clues as to who might have left her there?" Jonathan shook his head. "Not yet, but we are reviewing all available records and interviewing anyone who might remember something. The truth is that someone left her in the park with that necklace, and there looks like it wasn't an accident." William took a breath, absorbing the information. So Clara lived without knowing anything about her past, not knowing who her parents really were. The orphanage had no additional information about her other than the fact that she was found in the park with the necklace. "We are trying to track down possible witnesses or any leads on who may have left her there." The thought of his missing daughter had never been so present in William's mind. Every detail of the investigation seemed to bring him closer to a truth he both feared and longed for. He wondered how many times he had been close to the truth without knowing it. Continue to investigate, Jonathan. I need all the answers I can get. If Clara is truly my daughter, I cannot miss this opportunity, William said, determination in his voice. Jonathan nodded, understanding the urgency and importance of the request. We'll do our best, William. I'll keep you posted on any progress. At the villa, William tried to stay calm, but his anxiety was obvious. He watches Clara from afar, imagining her life could change drastically soon. Every movement she made, every gesture seemed to bring back memories of his lost daughter. One afternoon, while Clara was cleaning the library, William suddenly entered. She looked at him surprised but smiled shyly. Can I help you, Mr. Prescott? William hesitated for a moment. No, I just wanted to see how your work is progressing. Are you adapting well? Yes, sir. I am learning a lot and am grateful for this opportunity, Clara replied sincerely. William watched the necklace shine in the library lights, feeling a tightness in his chest. Do your best, Clara, you're doing great. As William leaves, Clara feels a strange feeling that something deeper is happening. The days passed slowly for William since he began his investigation of Clara. Each of Jonathan's discoveries seems to bring him closer to a truth he both desires and fears. When Jonathan finally called to schedule an emergency meeting, William knew that the moment of revelation had come. Jonathan arrived at the Prescott mansion with a thick envelope in hand. He was immediately led to William's office, where the businessman was waiting anxiously. William, we have collected all available information. There is no doubt that Clara was found in a park 17 years ago and taken to an orphanage. All records are confirms this story. The necklace she wears is her only connection to her past, Jonathan said and handed the envelope to William. William opened the envelope with trembling hands, flipping through each document meticulously. Every detail matched the little information he had about his daughter's disappearance. He knew he needed to talk to Clara immediately. Thank you, Jonathan. I need to talk to her now, William said, rising from his chair. Clara was in the kitchen, finishing packing things when Henry called her to William's office. She nervously went to the place, not knowing what would happen. When she entered the office, she saw William sitting behind the desk with a serious but kind expression. He invited her to sit opposite him. Clara, I need to talk to you about something very important, William began, trying to keep his voice calm. Have you ever wondered about your past, about who your parents are? Clara nodded, curiosity and worry clear in her eyes. Yes, sir, I always wanted to know, but I never had any clue other than this necklace. William took a deep breath before continuing. This necklace belongs to my daughter, who went missing 17 years ago. The information we have about her matches her missing information. I believe there is a possibility that she is my daughter. Clara remained silent, trying to process what she had just heard. That idea is both exciting and scary. You're saying I could be your daughter, right? Yes, Clara, but we need to be sure. I want us to do a DNA test to confirm paternity, so there will be a definite answer. Clara felt mixed emotions, hope, fear, doubt. Sure, sir. I'll do the test. William smiled in relief at the positive response. Very well. I will arrange everything. I want you to know that regardless of the outcome, you are still very important to us here. The next day, William and Clara went to a specialized laboratory to conduct a DNA test. The procedure is quick, but the wait for results seems to last forever. During those days, William tried to maintain normalcy in the mansion, but the tension was evident. He watched Clara with a mixture of hope and worry. He saw the expression on his lost daughter's face and couldn't escape the thought that fate had finally brought them together. For her part, Clara feels divided. The possibility of discovering one's true origins is both exciting and terrifying. She wonders what her life would be like if William were actually her father and how that would change things around her at Prescott Mansion. The atmosphere in the Prescott Mansion was filled with anticipation. Henry observed everything from afar, distrustful of the changes this could bring. He knows that confirming Clara's paternity could dramatically change the dynamic in the house and could threaten his position. The following days were real anxiety for everyone. William and Clara try to maintain their routine, but the wait for the DNA test results hangs over them like a shadow. Every phone call, every knock on the door made William's heart beat faster. Finally, the day of revelation has come. The lab called to say the results were back. William and Clara went together to get the envelope containing the answer to the question that was tormenting them. Back at the mansion, in William's office, they opened the envelope with trembling hands. The moment of truth came and they both knew that no matter what was written on that piece of paper, their lives would never be the same. William and Clara were sitting across the desk, the envelope containing the DNA test results between them. William's hand shook as he held the envelope and Clara could feel the tension in the air. "Let's open it," William said, his voice trembling but filled with determination. Clara nodded, trying to control the anxiety bubbling inside her. With a cautious gesture, William opened the envelope and took out the document. His eyes scanned the printed words and he felt the world stop for a moment. "Clara," William began, his voice choked with emotion. "The results are positive. I am your father." For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Clara looked at William, trying to grasp the significance of this. Tears of revelation began to roll down her face as she struggled to find the words. "You are my daughter," William repeated, his voice now filled with emotion. He opened his arms and Clara ran to hug him tightly. They both cried, a mixture of relief and joy washing over them. "I finally found my family," Clara whispered, feeling complete for the first time in her life. William held Clara's face in his hands, his eyes filled with tears. "We have a lot of time to make up, but I promise we'll do it together." The news quickly spread throughout the mansion. Elizabeth, William's wife, was the next to discover. When William told her about the confirmation, Elizabeth was momentarily paralyzed before bursting into tears of joy. "My daughter, our daughter," Elizabeth said, running to hug Clara. "I can't believe we finally found her." Elizabeth's hug was warm and welcoming, filling the void that Clara had always felt. Now, she has a mother, someone who loves her deeply and is always there to hold her with an open heart. Joy spread throughout Prescott Mansion. The staff, who had observed the changes with curiosity and concern, now joined in the family's celebration. Henry, the butler, watches from afar, trying to hide his true feelings about the situation. Clara begins to integrate more deeply into Prescott family life. William and Elizabeth included her in every aspect of family life, from intimate dinners to discussions about the family business. The transition wasn't easy for Clara, but her parents' unconditional support made everything more bearable. William, in turn, was determined to teach Clara everything he knew about the family business. He knew it would be a challenge, but he also believed that Clara had the strength and determination necessary to succeed. "I want you to know, Clara," William had said in one of their conversations, "that I'm here to support you every step of the way. You're part of this family and together we will build a bright future." Clara nodded, feeling grateful and motivated. She knows the road ahead will be challenging, but she is also eager to learn and grow with William and alongside Elizabeth. She feels ready to face any obstacle. While Henry observed everything with increasing anxiety. He knows that Clara's presence will change many things in the Prescott Dynamics family and therefore his own position in the house. His dissatisfaction began to increase and he couldn't help but feel a little jealous and scared about the future. The weeks following the apocalypse are a whirlwind of emotions and new routines for Clara. She is slowly adjusting to life as a member of the Prescott family, participating in daily operations and learning about the family business. The villa, once her workplace, has now become her real home. One night, over a quiet dinner, William and Clara were talking about her childhood. Elizabeth retired, leaving father and daughter to strengthen their relationship. "Clara, there's something I've always wanted to know," William began, setting his fork aside. "Do you remember anything about the day you were found? Any memories that might help us better understand what happened?" Clara frowned, trying to access the vague and fragmented memories of her childhood. "I was very young, but there's one thing I'll never forget," she said slowly. "I remember a man. He took me to the park. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I remember him being worried. He told me to stay there, that someone would come pick me up." William remained thoughtful, his heart aching at the thought of his little daughter being left alone in the park. "That man, do you remember anything else about him? Any features, anything that might help us identify him?" Clara shook her head. "No, he was just nervous and seemed in a hurry. I thought he was wearing a hat, but everything was very blurry." William took Clara's hand, determination forming in his eyes. "That's what we'll find out. Who he is and what really happened. I'll contact Jonathan again and ask him to investigate more thoroughly." The next day, William contacted Jonathan to explain the new information that Clara had revealed. Jonathan, ever meticulous, made sure he devoted every resource necessary to following up on this new information. "I will reopen the investigation with a focus on that description, William. We will examine the records, witnesses and anyone who might remember something about that day in the park," Jonathan said, recording all the details William shared. Meanwhile, at the villa, Clara felt both relieved and worried. Relieved to finally share her memories and have William's support, but also worried about what these investigations might reveal. Henry watched the movements with increasing anxiety. His thoughts are vague and full of uncertainty about his future in the house. Jonathan's investigation quickly begins to bear fruit. He interviewed former employees of the orphanage and residents of the area near the park where Clara was found. The pieces of information gradually begin to come together, forming a clearer but still incomplete picture. One afternoon, William received a call from Jonathan. "William, I have some news. I found a witness who remembered a man leaving a girl in the park at that time. He couldn't see many details, but he confirmed noticed that the man was wearing a hat and appeared to be in a hurry." William felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. "That's good, Jonathan. Continue investigation. We need to know who he is and why he left my daughter there." Jonathan agreed and promised to continue following up on all leads. Meanwhile, William decides it's time to share this news with Clara. He called her to his office and together they reviewed the new findings. "We're making progress, Clara. Every little detail brings us closer to the truth," William said, holding her hand affectionately. "We will find out who did this and why. You deserve to know the whole truth." Clara felt a wave of gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Dad. I know we will discover the truth together." As the investigation continues, Clara and William are prepared to face any revelations that may arise. United in their search for the truth, they know that no matter what they discover, they will face it together, further strengthening the bond they now share. As the investigation continues, the dynamic within the Prescott mansion begins to change. Clara was now recognized as William's legitimate daughter, becoming increasingly integrated into family life and business. Elizabeth welcomed her with open arms, and Clara's presence brought new joy to the house. However, not everyone shares that enthusiasm. Henry, the longtime butler, begins to show signs of discontent. His expression, previously expressionless, now showed constant tension. He looked at Clara with a mixture of distrust and resentment. With each new responsibility she took on in the family business, Henry's restlessness increased. One day, William noticed a change in Henry. The housekeeper's behavior becomes more rude and impatient, especially with Clara. William decided it was time to talk frankly. "Henry, can we talk?" William called the butler to his office. Henry walked in, still maintaining a stiff posture. "Yes, Mr. Prescott, how may I help you?" William watched him for a moment before speaking. "I noticed that you've been different since Clara joined us. I wanted to know if there's anything bothering you." Henry hesitated, but his expression turned hard. "Mr. Prescott, I have served this family for 30 years. I have always valued my loyalty, beyond doubt, but with the appearance of Clara, it seems everything has changed." William frowned. "Henry, Clara is my daughter. She has every right to be here and to be part of the family business. If there's anything else bothering you, I need you to be honest with me." Henry shook his head, avoiding William's eyes. "Nothing, sir. I'm just adjusting to the changes." William was not completely convinced, but decided not to dig deeper at that time. However, he knew that something deeper was going on. Henry has always been a pillar of trust, but his recent attitude has raised doubts. As Jonathan continues to investigate, he is determined to discover any connection between the man who left Clara at the park and anyone else who may be involved. William still regularly contacts the detective, eagerly waiting for new information. The tension in the Prescott mansion is obvious. Henry felt his position was threatened and began to act more erratically. Small mistakes in daily tasks, sarcastic comments, and furtive glances become more frequent. Clara, despite noticing her housekeeper's behavior, remains focused on her responsibilities. Determined not to let anything affect her new life. William knows that the truth about Clara's past is drawing closer. He also knows that he needs to be on the lookout for any signs of betrayal in his own home. Henry's true nature is starting to show, and William is determined to protect his family at all costs. After several weeks of investigation, Jonathan called William with an urgent tone. "William, we need to meet. I discovered something important about the man who left Clara in the park." William felt cold down his spine. "I'm on my way, Jonathan." In the detective office, Jonathan presents a detailed profile. "William, my investigation has led to a disturbing discovery. The man who left Clara in the park 17 years ago is none other than Henry, the butler." William was stunned. "Henry? This is unbelievable. Do you have proof of this?" Jonathan nodded and handed William a series of documents and photos. Witnesses eventually confirmed the man's identity, and old records revealed a suspicious link between Henry and the events surrounding his daughter's disappearance. At the villa, William felt both angry and betrayed. He called Henry to his office, holding the evidence with trembling hands. "Henry, we need to talk now," William said firmly. Henry walked in, keeping a calm expression, but William could see the worry in his eyes. "Yes, Mr. Prescott. How may I help?" William threw the evidence on the table between them. "Explain this to me, Henry. Explain how you could do this to my family." Henry looked at the documents and his face turned pale. "Mr. Prescott, I can explain." "There is no explanation that can justify what you did," William shouted, his rage flaring. "You kidnapped my daughter, left her alone in the park. Why?" Finally, Henry broke through his defenses again, collapsing. I was in despair when I learned that your daughter was born. I was afraid of losing my place here. I always thought that without her, you would leave everything to me. I did a terrible thing, terrible, and I regret it every day." William looked at Henry with an expression of both pain and anger. "You destroyed our lives, Henry. I trust you. Forgive me, Mr. Prescott." "I didn't do it with bad intentions," Henry said. William, with a whirlwind of emotions upon learning the whole truth, decides to call his lawyer so they can go to the police station together. William and his lawyer, Mr. Collins, collected all the evidence against Henry and went to the police station. The weight of the recent revelations was still fresh in their minds, but William knew he couldn't delay any longer. Seeking justice, at the police station, they were welcomed by Inspector Harris, a stern but fair-looking man. Mr. Collins presented documents and evidence incriminating Henry. "Detective Harris, we have convincing evidence that Henry, the Prescott family's butler, is responsible for the kidnapping of Mr. Williams' daughter 17 years ago," Mr. Collins explained as he handed the file to the inspector. Detective Harris reviewed documents, photos, statements, and records, his expression hardening as he grasped the seriousness of the case. "These are very serious charges. We will be making arrests immediately. I need Mr. Prescott to prepare to formally file a complaint." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," William replied with unwavering determination in his voice. Back at the mansion, the tension is palpable. Henry was clearly nervous, knowing that something was about to happen. When the police arrived, he tried to stay calm, but his eyes betrayed his growing fear. "Mr. Henry, you have been arrested for kidnapping Mr. Prescott's daughter," Inspector Harris announced. "You have the right to remain silent, but anything you say can and will be used against you in court." Henry did not resist being handcuffed. He seemed to have sealed his fate when he was taken to the police station. He looked at William with regret and fear in his eyes. "William, I'm so sorry," Henry stammered. "You thought you were protecting your future, but you ended up ruining mine." William remained steadfast, even though Henry's words touched some of his compassion. "Henry, your desperation does not justify what you did. You destroyed our lives. Now, justice will be served." At the police station, Henry was formally questioned and confessed his crime in detail, explaining his motives and the fear that drove him to act as he did. His confession was recorded and he was transferred to prison, where he will await trial. William returned home feeling both relieved and sad. The betrayal of someone he trusted so deeply left a painful scar, but also a sense of justice being restored. Clara, upon hearing the news of Henry's arrest, felt a surge of emotions. The truth has finally come to light, but the road leading to it has been filled with pain and bitter revelations. That night, William, Elizabeth, and Clara gathered in the drawing room, embracing each other and finding comfort in each other's presence. Prescott Mansion, which has long hidden secrets and betrayals, now begins to transform into a real home, where truth and love reign. Moving forward, William said as he looked at his wife and daughter, "Nothing can separate us anymore." Henry's imprisonment marked the end of a dark chapter in the lives of the Prescott family. With the truth finally revealed and justice served, William, Elizabeth and Clara are determined to move forward and reclaim lost time. The atmosphere in the mansion begins to change, shifting from constant tension to hope and renewal. In the following days, William decided to spend more time with his family. He reduced working hours, delegating more responsibility to his trusted executives. For her part, Clara continues to integrate herself into the family business, but now with a new purpose to strengthen family ties. Every morning, the family gathers for breakfast, a moment they rarely shared before due to their busy schedules. The conversations were light and filled with laughter. With William and Elizabeth enjoying listening to stories of Clara's childhood in the orphanage and her dreams for the future, I want to learn everything about the family business, Dad, Clara had said one morning. But I also want us to have time to get to know each other better. William smiled, touched by his daughter's sincerity. Of course, honey. We'll balance things out. I want you to feel like you're a part of every aspect of our lives. Afternoons were often spent in the villa's garden, where Clara and Elizabeth tended flowers and planned new flower beds. The garden, always beautiful, is now lusher than ever, reflecting the new energy of the family. This place gets more beautiful every day, Elizabeth commented while planting new flowers next to Clara. And I feel like that's a reflection of what we're building together. Clara smiled, feeling truly at home. I'm so happy to be here with you. I never thought I would find my family and even more so much love. At night, the whole family gathers in the living room to watch movies, play board games or simply chat. William and Elizabeth shared stories of their youth and Clara listened with interest to every detail, feeling closer to her parents every day. In one of those moments, William made a suggestion that brought everyone to tears. Let's go on a family trip together, something we've always wanted to do but never had the chance. Elizabeth agreed immediately. That's wonderful. We get to go to a special place where we can make new memories. Clara was very excited about this idea. I love that we can explore new places and enjoy every moment together. With the trip planned, the family began arranging all the details. The anticipation of new adventures together brings added joy to the Prescott mansion. The planning of the trip is as exciting as the trip itself, and each family member contributes ideas and wishes. The Prescott mansion, once marked by secrets and tension, now resonates with laughter and love. The hall that had witnessed many years of loneliness and sadness now vibrated with life and happiness. The painful past is being replaced by a present full of promise and a future full of hope. We are building something wonderful here, William said, holding Elizabeth and Clara's hands as they looked into the moonlit garden. A home filled with love and joy. Clara looked at her parents with gratitude. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. Let's make every day count. With that promise, the Prescott family prepared for a bright future. United by love and determination to make the most of every moment together, the villa is now a true home, a symbol of resilience and the ability to turn pain into happiness, showing that together, they can overcome all challenges and build a life full of joy. If you love engaging in true stories about life, click the subscribe button now to not miss any videos. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to receive the latest information from us. Thank you for your support and companionship.